I think for anyone, it's a lot to take in. I think no matter who you are, you look at it, it's almost every day something different is coming out, either internationally or within the country. And I think it's a time where, it's a time for all of us to come together and have open communication about the issues that we're facing every day and the bigger issues that are out there. And I think we need to take these opportunities to open those lines of communications to broader groups and find ourselves as communities and as people again, and find better ways to talk to each other about the issues we face, so that we don't see more of these types of incidents, whether they be domestic or international. I'm saddened by the loss of lives again that we saw in France again, even after this most recent incident in our own country. So we need to continue to strive. As I said earlier at the ceremony, this is a dialogue we need to be having on a regular basis, and we need to be talking to people about all the issues that they face and coming together as a community. And especially these first responders that we've lost. This is so tragic, and it saddens me beyond belief. I've known and worked with officers directly for a long time now, and firefighters and all the first responders we have that are out there every day, and they mean so much to us because they're not just officers and firefighters and first responders. They're members of our communities, their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their people's family, and their friends. So we just need to be committed to working together to continue to find dialogue where we can come to common sense about issues that we face, so that people don't feel the extreme need to take out extreme actions. So hopefully we can continue that, not only as a community, but as a country, as a state, and as a world.
I'm not going to ask you about any sort of specific case, but I mean, just kind of generally speaking, do you believe that there may be some need for some, maybe not even just reform or reevaluation of policing policies, but maybe reallocation of resources or funds to kind of help police in training or anything like that?
I think each department and each municipality and each jurisdiction is probably a little different on that. We continuously work and have that dialogue with our administration on the priorities and needs, and but we're committed to always trying to strive to do more. Just because something has worked in the past doesn't mean that we shouldn't always look at new initiatives, new ways of training, new ways of engaging the public in dialogue. Those are always things that we should continue to try and do better, because we don't know what the next issue might be facing a community, or where the next strife might be that may bring somebody to an extreme action. So we should always be working. There are a lot of issues out there in the community, and we want to provide a forum and a way to look at and deal with those as much as we possibly can.
Obviously, Romeoville is very different from other urban communities, much larger communities, but it is very diverse. So speaking specifically to what a lot of people are, I guess, so upset about, kind of the relationship with communities of color, other marginalized communities, are there any specific dialogues that or conversations that this police department has had?
We've already had some dialogues, and we're going to continue that effort. We're very fortunate. We have a community where diversity has always been a part of our community. It's been a part of our community and the rich culture that we have here in Romeoville for decades. In reality, it was interesting because we've actually had a researcher in talking about some of these issues in our community more recently when we were having this dialogue. Where some communities may not have had that engagement of people from different cultures coming together for a longer period of time. And I think for us, that's been a positive. And it is one of the true beautiful things about our community is all the different backgrounds, all the cultures that are here. Everything from, I think some people might be surprised about the vast number of first-generation Africans or people from Sri Lanka or from any number of different nations. We have a vibrant Polish population. Our diversity is one of our greatest strengths, and what we need to continue to do is always make sure that we're not missing something, and we continue to have open dialogues with all of our groups in order to continue that tradition of being a community that embraces diversity.
And lastly, Commissioner Turvey, I asked him about kind of the issues of mental health and disabilities and how police handle those community members. He said they're in the process of kind of training more officers about that, but kind of as someone who may be concerned about how would you say the process is going in that regard.
And certainly that's a very unique circumstance because in the balance to make sure that both the officers and the individuals are safe, and that we find creative ways that in order to address, and because there's so much diversity in potential situations, it is, and it's something, again, we look at our police officer and our administration, and we work with them to try and find them, give them the tools to look at and continue that training effort as the science about it progresses, and every day there's the ability to look at and train yourself to be better at what you do. And we got great officers, but the world's a changing place, and so we want to make sure that we're always equipping them with the ability to address those things. And again, not only with our officers, but really within all of our ranks, because our employees are out there working day in and day out with a wide variety of individuals, and not only the individuals that live in our community, but the individuals that traverse our community each day, that may be here working, traveling, shopping. So not only is it the population we have at any given time, but it is the tens of thousands of people that may be a part within our community at any given time. So and then we have a large and rich student population that also creates a new dynamic, and that's why we've looked at growth with Lewis University, and they adopted their own police department in cooperation to give more resources to address those issues as well. And it's always looking at new initiatives and getting out amongst the public. That's why initiatives like our bike patrol are so important, because it puts officers into the streets and gives them the ability to communicate. It's why efforts like our relatively recent addition of our Youth Police Academy is so important, so that we can get youth engaged and make that connection with our officers. That's why still having officers in the school, which some communities don't do anymore, but we still do on an active basis, is so important. Getting it, even having programs like DARE, and so that it's not just the interaction about drugs and gangs, but it's also just that connection with law enforcement, so that there's a dialogue going on throughout people's lives in order to make those connections and not to feel so separated. We need to continue to bring the public and our services, our police, our fire, all of our services together in order to be a better community.